Hello and welcome to History with R&R Live, Monday. Oh God, I forgot what day it is.
The
May
17th
the
of May.
17th. There we go. I can wake
We got
up,
it.
I swear. How are you doing this morning, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. It's good to see you, Robert.
Yeah, I've been stepped away for a while, but I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. And if anybody out there would like to get some History with R&R merch, it is in the store. The link for that is in the description. The Doom mug has been removed. It was removed May 1st. But there's still shirts and t-shirts, and then there's some Rambling Canuck stuff in there, and all your wonderful shop needs are there. Also, if the bot isn't on strike and actually starts working sometime today, there should be a place where if you would like to tip your hosts, well, by all means, go ahead. So today I thought
you really missed out if you didn't get the mug. I did get one. It's very nice. So let me get there we go. Very nice image there that Yitza did for.
Yes, Yitza did amazing work on Richard. That. And I couldn't thank him enough. And he really did that in like clutch, because I told him on Friday he had it to me by Sunday. So I really can't stress him enough how much I appreciated Yitzy doing that for me. Yitzy also changed the background, which you see behind Jeff and behind the main stream, to incorporate a couple of things to change it up so that we would have a new logo after Doom passed. But moving on to brighter things, we're going to take a swing through chat here quickly before we get rolling. Mexican Iron Man was first. Thank you so much for dropping in. I know I kind of goobered and I had put 11 p.m. instead of a.m. because I'm a complete idiot and I don't have enough coffee in me yet. But it was meant for 11 a.m. And going forward, folks, the History with R&R live streams will be every Monday, 11 a.m., probably 11:05 because I like to be goofy. Yeah, so that's going to be the new schedule for the live streams. Also, welcome Mary's Game Room. Hope you're doing well, and I hope your travel back home is safe. Parrothead, welcome. Hope you're doing well. It's been a while, been a minute or two. And there you go. What do you know? The bot's not on strike today.
Yay.
So I think you have the original, which is on Paula's store, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I thought I'd help out Paula a little bit by getting some of the merch on that store.
The new logo.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original, and both stores are in the descriptions. Welcome, Mountains of Elysium. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you guys are getting unlocked down, unlike us who are getting locked down even more. But from one depressing topic to another. So today's main topic, as the title says, today we're going to discuss a dark point in history. And at the time, it was a very controversial point in history. But there are ties to the modern day to it. If you really want to go out on a limb, there are some things you can tie it into that we still deal with today. There's just not the ramification that there was at the time. So we're going to be looking at a little point in history right before World War II broke out. And it is something in history that happened that doesn't get talked about a lot because us victorious powers don't like talking about it very much. And that is the exodus from Germany. I'm going to try to make sure that I please my YouTube overlords and not say things that piss them off, but in this case, sometimes I might have to. And the reason I thought we'd talk about this is because of the other thing that's happening in modern day today, that's kind of not been talked about as much because we have more important things like COVID, just because we might be going to war doesn't mean anything. Let's talk about COVID. And Jeff has kindly put this up, which is the timeline and the numbers. So between 33 and 39, so right before the war starts, as a certain political party takes power in Germany, there is a undesired, and again, folks, please bear with me. I've got to use some very colorful language so that YouTube doesn't decide that this stream no longer needs to exist. So I am going to be using some broad terms to explain some very interesting things. So with that said, in the build-up to World War II, there was an undesirable group of people within Germany that the German government no longer wanted there. And their first solution to this was a mass deportation. Their solution was that they would pay and give precedent to people of this characteristic to leave the country. They would fast track visas. There would be incentives. It was a massive deportation drive. It was their first thoughts on how to deal with what would later become the Jewish question. There we go, YouTube. Please don't hate me. I went 7 minutes without saying it. So what exactly was this? This was an exodus, and it was where ships and land borders were penetrated, we'll say. Ships were overfilled, and it was just a mass exodus from Germany. And the idea was, best way to get rid of them is just deport them. We don't need them. We don't want them. They need to go. So, like I say, visas were fast-tracked, and they were told, please leave. And welcome, Mark the Infinitely Tired. Hopefully you're doing well. You're probably exhausted. This is the third stream you're at this morning. Greatly appreciated, sir. So now here's where this story kind of takes a little bit of a, in modern day, with the benefits of 2020, we look back on it as a dark moment in the world's history, because the side of the story that isn't really talked about a lot is the fact that, as you see on this map here, Canada, there were 6,000 people that tried to come over. United States, 102,000, etc., etc., etc. The numbers are insane. However, the sad reality was, upon these ships, and I'm talking like overcrowded vessels that people paid way too bloody much to get on in the first bloody place.
Yep.
Once they got to the port of call, they were denied and sent back. Not only the United States, not only Canada, not only Britain, not only Australia, but they were turned away. A great majority of the people seeking asylum or seeking refuge and have basically been kicked out of their own country where they grew up, were born, raised, and told, yeah, this country's no longer for you, please leave. And keep in mind, at this time, they're starting to do things like shutting down businesses, shutting down bank accounts. They're starting to come up with the ghettos ideas as this plan progresses. And the world's stance at the time was basically, yeah, no. We're still recovering from the economic hardship of the stock market crash. We don't have enough jobs for the people we have. We don't have enough housing for the people we have. So no. And what the end result of this was, a lot of the people that fled Germany and were sent back are the same people that are on tallies today and memorials for the Holocaust. Because we said no, they were sent back to their death. Now, at the time, we had no idea. Well, we had idea. The writing was on the wall. The modern excuse is, if we had only known. If we had only known that this was going to happen, we would have changed our minds. Which is a polite way of saying, if we had known, we would have done something. Meanwhile, even if they had known, I don't think it would have changed much. And so I've been rambling on here for a couple minutes. So Jeff, what things about this did you find that were kind of striking to you?
Well, I found one case. It was called the Voyage of the St. Louis in 1939. Actually, May the 13th. So it was this month, just a few days ago in 39. There was a German transatlantic liner called the St. Louis that went to Cuba and was taking, let's see, how many was it? It was 937 passengers. And most of them were Jewish. They were fleeing Germany, and they were told that they could enter Cuba. And when they got there, they were turned away. So it wasn't just, these big countries like the United States or Great Britain or Canada or Australia that were turning people away from Germany. It was everyone. Countries like Cuba. Yeah, they were all doing it.
Yeah. There isn't, I don't think there's a country that doesn't have blood on their hands, as they say. In hindsight 2020, that's how it's looked upon, is we all have blood on our hands, which is why the formation of Israel, fast forward to 46, was so important. Was kind of this shall never happen again, you'll have your own country, therefore blah 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 blah, this shall never happen again. However, that's kind of, as we can tell, if you turn on your morning news, is still not exactly all that stable. That's the understatement of the century. Gee, however, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, that is if they're reporting it.
Not very much.
Yeah, they're not very much.
We're kind of on the brink of war, but yeah, they're not talking about it all that much.
They're just trying.
And good morning, Potato Revan. How are you doing? Hopefully, you're doing well.
Good morning.
The other thing, the other thing that happened with this too, which was kind of in hindsight, looking back, it's a kick in the ass, because as this exodus is happening, one of the countries that did actually take people in was France. Well, history would show that wasn't a very good refuge, because shortly thereafter,
France was occupied.
France was occupied, and it was just a temporary.
Temporary reprieve. It wasn't a good escape at all.
And yes, Mountains of Elysium, even Ireland turned people away. I mean, but the United Kingdom did too. So did the United States. So did Canada. A lot of the countries that you would sit there today with modern eyes and go, well, they'd be all on this. There'd definitely be there'd be be outcry. There'd be people lining the streets to help these people. No. And a lot of it was, we don't have the jobs for these people. We don't have the housing. We can't afford it. And in any case of a mass migration, as we've found throughout history, which is why I don't buy the line, well, if we had only known, we would have done blah. if you look even as recent as people trying to flee war-torn countries in the modern day, we still kind of go, well, no, we don't have room. Sorry, Syria. You know, we would like to think of ourselves as that, beacon, whether it's Canada, United States, Britain, France, the main Western countries, that we're this beacon of freedom and hope. We like that for publicity factor, but we don't like really putting that into practice, because that means that we have to we have to actually put money and time and effort into things, and that's where everything kind of falls apart, even in the modern day. And back then, we're talking lots of people that ended up disenfranchised. And it was a government plan to, okay, well, we don't want them here, get rid of them. So the easiest way to do that in their mind was, okay, we deport you. Which was kind of funny. That would be like waking up and finding out that every Irish person in America is no longer welcome in the United States, and piss off. Is basically the same thing. The difference was it was on a religious line, right? So all of a sudden, Protestants are no longer allowed in the United States, only Catholics. So it was the same thing. And Mountains of Elysium brings up a good point. Just give me a second here while I get to it. And it's he says, the need to help refugees is the same today, but no country gives a blank. Try to keep a PG on the blank. Channel. Yeah. Once the chance to virtue signaling is done, suddenly it's F off, no room at the inn. Absolutely. And that is exactly the way it works. And the other thing too is we get this weird, like, even in the modern day, we get this, well, all our jobs will be gone.
Yes.
Right? That's the big threat. They're going to take all our jobs.
And what was going on at that time? Countries were trying to come out of the Depression.
Yeah.
So economies were poor, and they were saying, well, we don't have any jobs here for them to take. They're going to take our jobs. We can't have that.
Yeah. That was the general idea.
Yeah.
Because the recession hit everybody. It hit Germany. It hit the world. It wasn't just isolated to the United States. And that's what happens when you have a global economy, such as we have today. If one domino falls, other dominoes take a hit as well. Because I don't think, there's very few, maybe some small countries, but on the grand scale, one country depends on the other country's success in order to keep their success. If China all of a sudden went tits up, it would have a very bad effect globally. If Russia all of a sudden went tits up, if the United States went tits up, that would be massive. That would be like back. The United States falling is something that is like worldwide, global. We'd find out what a real lockdown is, because the world would go to shit real quick, because a lot of stuff is based off the US dollar in world trade. Also, a lot of economies are banked on the fact the United States is going to buy X amount of product, or Canada is going to buy X amount of product, or Britain is going to buy X amount of product, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Potato Reverend. Ireland was isolationist. We actually didn't let anyone in at all. That's right. No, you are absolutely correct, Reverend. That was a absolutely correct statement. You didn't let anyone in. British just decided to walk in anyway, whether you were letting them or not.
Well, that's the British for you.
You know, you didn't really have a say in the matter.
Yeah, but Mark the Infinitely Tired is right. That would wipe out the world.
It would definitely screw up a lot of shit.
Yeah, it certainly would.
It also it also works the other way around as well. If certain countries if their economy goes down, it hits everywhere else. As much as we like to complain about Saudi Arabia, you want to see your oil prices go up. Have something financially bad happen in Saudi Arabia. But same with Russia. Russia does a lot of, like, for China and that side of the world. If Russia's natural gas supplies all of a sudden stop for whatever reason, that will affect them, which will affect the global market, which will affect et cetera, et cetera. It's a domino.
It's all intertied.
Some people have bigger dominoes, but it's still a domino. Which is set up that way because then world wars don't seem so appealing. Because at the end of the day, you're hurting yourself in some way, shape, or form. I mean, if you really want proof of this, just think of it this way. Look in your house at everything made in China, Taiwan, Japan, and then think what a real war between China and the United States would do.
Oh, it would kill the world.
Right? Even if the United States wins.
It all brings it down to its knees, the whole world.
Right? Same with Russia, with any of the bigger countries. And it's designed that way.
Mark the Infinitely Tired says, buy gold and sit on it.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Until they decide that bright and shiny thing is no longer a commodity. Because if you think about it, anything that and that's another topic for another day, I guess, but if you think about it, anything we consider monetary value is put there because we say so. Right? Gold has monetary value because we say so.
Mm-hmm.
Diamonds have monetary value because we say so.
That's how we define it.
Yeah. It doesn't take much. I mean, if you think about it this way, if you go back far enough, there's probably there are people that will tell you that if you have an economy that isn't based on the gold standard, then you're going to fail. Unfortunately, the world hasn't run on the gold standard in many, many years. So
it went away in the 1920s, didn't it?
Yeah. It went when it's uncommonly and controversially called the switch from the gold standard to the oil standard. But it used, but yeah. So, and Chef Zilla says if the pandemic has shown us anything, it's all about toilet paper and hand sanitizer. Yeah, and don't forget those mask manufacturers. Oh, and plexiglass. Oh my goodness, you should have jumped on plexiglass 2 years ago. Just saying.
I know we bought a lot for where I work.
Oh yeah, plexiglass. damn, that went up in value big time.
Sure did.
But back to today's topic, and again, it comes down to things at the time were looked at, well, there's no way. We can't. And then with hindsight 2020, we look back and go, oh, well, if we had only known that this was going to happen, we could have easily taken in all these people and stuff. And you find out just how much bullshit was slung at the time. Right? Because in retrospect, if half those people would have been taking it, just half, the numbers would have been a lot less at the end of World War II. But because, we have this wonderful thing of, well, no, we can't take in refugees, we can't do this, we can't do that. I think even in the modern day, like, you can't save everyone. It's just not going to happen. In realistic speaking, it's just not going to happen. But I think moving forward, we need to learn from history and learn from moments like this. Not every exodus is going to turn into Auschwitz, which is what this one did.
Thank God that they don't, but some will.
But some will. And at what point do we stop going, if we had only known? And a lot of it is human nature to sit there and, in the time, assume that our problems are much too worse. And, no, there's just no way we can do this. And then, in hindsight, once the tragedies happened, that's when they go back and they go, well, yeah, we should have helped. Sorry. Oops. A good example of this, which is something that we're going to talk about when we eventually talk about that wonderful organization known as the United Nations, is what happened in Rwanda.
I think that's a conflict in terms, but we can get to that another week.
Yeah, United Nations, as long as you have a veto. Oh, bloody hell. But right now we need to really stop and think and decide once and for all, what are we going to do? Because we like to sit there and say, well, in the West, we promote this value, this value, this value, this value, this value. But when push comes to shove, nah, none of that matters. It didn't matter in 33. It didn't matter in 36. It didn't matter in 38. The only time it mattered was when all the countries had egg on their face at the end of the war.
Well, no one likes to look bad.
That's when it mattered.
So what they do, they sweep it under the carpet.
Yeah. And Mountains of Elysium says, look on the Twitter, the same language used by intersectional left and far right, no difference. It's the same being used. Yes, absolutely, it is.
Yeah, he's right.
The difference is that we put it in a modern spin, and we cherry pick what we like, and we condone what we don't. That's basically all. And good morning, Purple Valkyrie. Hopefully you had a great show. I tuned in for a bit, but I had to leave to get ready for this one. But kind of reining it back to this, when you look into moments like this, where there was a clear sign for the world to do something so good and so easy, we didn't do it. We stood back, tied our hands behind our back, and went, no. And thousands of people died because of it. So what I really hope that you guys take from this kind of talk is that everything isn't always black and white. And also try to look at things from a bigger perspective. I know it's hard, and I know, like, every country has their struggle, their ups, downs, stuff like that. But for us in 2021 to sit there and be able to say, well, if we had known that it was going to escalate to that, we would have done something, is about as good as saying at somebody's funeral, I really should have visited him more.
That's a good analogy.
Right? It's no different. And as a world and as a community within the world that we live on, it happens way too often that we pass the buck. We can't possibly do this. We can't possibly help this. We can't possibly do this because of this. There's always an excuse. Excuses are like buttholes. Everyone has one. And I think we need to be a little bit more open to looking at things not from one point of view, but from many, when we're making decisions that could change people's lives. And the decisions made from 33 to 39 changed a lot of lives. Because once the Exodus failed, so the mass deportations failed and they all come back, well, we still have that problem. Okay, well then let's escalate a little bit further and go to ghettos. Then from ghettos, they went to concentration camps. From concentration camps, they went to death camps. And a great majority of those people could have been saved. And in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't have hurt any country, especially Canada, the United States. Wouldn't have hurt us.
If they all had chipped in.
Yeah.
They could have saved.
The writing was on the wall. From 33 to 39, the writing's on the wall. This is no longer going to be a sustainable place for these people to live. Their homes are being taken away. 33 maybe, but once you get into 35, 36, 37, 38,
yep,
it's pretty clear what's going to happen. It's pretty clear. There's no... As the drums of war begin to start getting beat, they're not being as politically nice about it anymore. They are, to all intents and purposes, saying we're going to get rid of them one way or the other. And I really think as a world we need to stop and think. And not just do that knee-jerk reaction. Oh, we can't possibly do this. We can't possibly do that. That's a crock. Between Canada, the United States, and Britain alone, even in the modern day, the amount that we could actually do is insane. The problem is there's not enough political capital to do it. There's not enough support to do it.
Yep.
And surprise, surprise, there's not enough money to do it. If you can get through all those three problems, then we can do amazing things. So, with that said, I really encourage you guys to take a look at this point. And a lot of the stuff that happens after World War II in regards to Israel, Palestine, that we now deal with now, has its roots here. Has its roots in the fact that at the time there was no real country. And have a great day, Mary. Safe driving, and be good.
Take care, Mary.
But we really need to stop as a world looking at things in the moment, and we can't help until you make us. We can't fix something until it's absolutely dire. If you think about it, nothing in the world is proactive. Nothing. We don't fix something till it's broke. And even then, you gotta drag people kicking and screaming to get it done. So, with that, I want to thank Jeff for joining me on the panel.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
And thank you to everybody in the chat. I hope you found today's stream a little informative, little conversation starting. And with that, as Richard used to say, thank you and good night.